जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजना। यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजना। यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजना। यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजना। यमुना तीर वनचारी। यमुना तीर वनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajakacharya Ashtodhara Shri Shri Jivan Grace Shilabha Charanarvind Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON BBD Founder Acharya His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajakacharya Ashtodhara Shri Shri Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai नमाचार्य शील हरिदास ठाकुर की जय प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरिराज गोवर्धन की जय ब्रजमहि वृंदावन धाम की जय मायपुर नवद्वीप धाम की जय श्री क्षेत्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय गंगा मई जमुना मई की जय भक्ति देवी तुलसी महारानी की जय समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय पतित पावन श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय ग्रंथराज भागवतम की जय श्री श्री राधा मदन मोहन की जय श्री श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा महारानी की जय श्री श्री गौनिताय की जय शिल प्रभुपाद की जय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल ऑल ग्लोरीज assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayana Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayatmudirayet Nashcha Prayeshu Vadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 24, Texts 47 and 48. Since there are two verses, we'll recite both the verses 3 times. Priti prahrsita pangam alake rupa shobhitam lasat pankaja kinjalka dukulam mrishtakundalam spurat kiritas valaya hara nupuramekhalam sankhachakra gada padma mala mani utamardmita priti prahashita pangam alake rupashobhitam lasat pankaj kinjalka dukulam vrishtakundalam priti prahasita pangam alakairupashobhitam lasat pankaj kinjalka dukulam vrishtakundalam priti prahasita pangam alakairupashobhitam lasat pankaj kinjalka dukulam vrishtakundalam. Alakairupashobhitam lasat pankaj kinjalka dukulam vrishtakundalam priti prasita pangam alakairupashobhitam lasat pankaj kinjalka dukulam krishna kundalam priti prasita pangam alakairupashobhitam lasat pankaj kinjalka dukulam vrishtakundalam. Matajis, priti prahas alakairupashobhitam lasat pankaj kinjalka dukulam vrishtakundalam. We'll read the second verse. Spurut kirata balayam haranupurame sankhachakra gada padma mala mani utamarjimat spurat kirata balaya haranupurame sankhachakra gada padma mala mani utamarjimat spurat kirata balaya haranupurame शंखचक्र गदा पद्मा माला मणिगुतमर्धिमत् Please go ahead, bro. Yes. Kirita Balaya. Sakra Kada Padma. Mala Mani Utamardhimat. Priti, merciful. Praharshita, smiling. Apangam, sidelong glance. Alakai, with curling hair. Rupa, beauty. Shobhitam, increased. Lasat, glittering. Pankaja, of the lotus. Kinjalka, saffron. Dukulam, clothing. Mrishtha, glittering. Kundalam, earrings. Spurat, shiny. Kirita, helmet. Balaya, bangles. Hara, necklace. Nupura, ankle bells. Mekhalam, belt. Sankha, council. Chakra, wheel. Gada, club. Padma, lotus flower. Mala, garland. Mani, pearls. Uttama, first class. Ridhimat, still more beautified on account of this. Translation: the Lord is super excellently beautiful on account of his open and merciful smile and his silent glance upon his devotees. His black hair is curly and his garments waving in the wind appears like flying saffron pollen from lotus flower. His glittering earrings, shining helmet, bangles, garland, ankle bells, waist belt, and various other bodily ornaments combined with console, disc, club, and lotus flower to increase the natural beauty of the Kaustubha pearl on his chest. Purport: the word Praharsitapanga, referring to Krishna's smile and sidelong glances at his devotees, specifically applies to his dealings with the gopis. Krishna is always in a joking mood when he increases the feelings of his conjugal rasa in the hearts of the gopis. The console, club, disc, and lotus flower can be either held in his hands or seen on the palms of his hands. According to palmistry, the sign of console, club, lotus flower, and disc mark the palms of great personalities and especially indicate the supreme personality of Godhead. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurah Shri Ujita Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanitamsa Namo Vishnu Padaya कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांता स्वामी इति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते जयतां सुरतौ पंगो मम मंदारमतेर्गति मत्सर्वस्व पदाम्भोज राधा मदन मोहनो दिव्य वृंदारण्यकल्पद्रुमादो श्रीमद्रत्नागार सिंहासनस्थौ श्री श्री राधा शील गोविंद देवो पृष्ठालिभिः सेव्यमानो स्मरामि श्रीमान् रासरसारम्भी वंशी बटा तटस्थितः कर्षण वेणु स्वनिर्गोपी गोपीनाथ श्रीअस्तुना तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुष्टे देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नाम्ने गौरद्विषे नमः पंचतत्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतार भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकं जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। श्री श्री गौरनिताय की जय। श्री राधा मदन मोहन की जय। श्री श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा महारानी की जय। Hare Krishna. First of all, I would like to seek the blessings of His Grace Anandamaya Prabhu and all the assembled Vaishnavas, wonderful, eloquent Vaishnavas over here. I seek blessings from all of you so that we can discuss together Srimad Bhagavatam for our purification, for the people like me, and for the advanced and wonderful Vaishnavas. It would be a realizable topic. Because it's impossible to discuss the glories of Krishna, which is called Kirtana, alone. It can be only done in the Sangha of devotees. Ekaki amara nahi paaye bala harinama sankirtane tumi kripa kari shraddha bindu diya deha Krishna nama dhane. It is impossible, it's difficult to get the strength to discuss Krishna's name, form, pastimes which are none other than the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam. So, my humble request, let us sit together and discuss this wonderful topic of Srimad Bhagavatam. Today we are discussing from 4th canto, 24th chapter, verse 47-48. This whole chapter is entitled as Rudra Gita, chanting the song sung by Lord Shiva. What else would be the good fortune of practicing devotees like all of us, sitting in the courtyard of Shri Radha Madan Mohan and discussing, hearing and contemplating on the wonderful prayers offered by the Supreme Most Vaishnava, Vaishnava Dhasambhu. What else could be the great fortune? So today all of us, it's a great fortune here discussing the Rudra Gita. In this section of the Rudra Gita, last few verses, Lord Shiva is praying to Supreme Personality Godhead to see His beautiful form. So that, offering a prayer by which he could be able to see the beautiful form of the Lord. It is impossible to see the form of the Lord. What to think of seeing the form? Anything for that matter related to God can only be possible by the Supreme Lord's causeless mercy only. Nothing else, no other strength, austerity, purity, anything for that matter can help us to do anything pure devotion. What to think of seeing the Supreme Lord? And in this section, specifically last few verses, Lord Shiva is contemplating on the beautiful form of the Lord. And today's verse specifically, it is mentioned that how the Lord's glittering and beautiful crown, spirit kirita, balaya, the and his kirita balaya and ankle bells, waist belt, including garland, his garment, everything is very wonderfully described over here. And Srila Prabhupada starts purport by saying, Parashita Panga, referring Krishna's smile and silent glance. Among all the, if you consider all the incarnation of the Lord, specifically Krishna and Lord Vishnu in general, you'll find this particular aspect of silent glance and smita hasya. Even Shankaracharya, who happened to preach Mayavad philosophy, he couldn't resist but write the Jagannatha saying the same thing, the second verse of Jagannatha that, my dear Lord, you are giving a sidelong glance to your devotees. And here, Srila Prabhupada described, actually the earlier verses, and even this verse also, literally if you see, it describes the beautiful form of Lord Narayana. But Srila Prabhupada brings this verse into wonderful purport, saying that he is Krishna himself. Because silent glance, Srila Prabhupada starts saying that specifically it applies to his dealings with gopis. And Krishna is always in joking mood when he increases the feeling of conjugal rasa in the heart of gopis. And as far as the four symbols or the ayudhas, Shankha, Chakra, Dha, Padma, Srila Prabhupada mentions that we can think of it, it is hold on his hand or it can be symbols on his palm. Srila Prabhupada tells us he is Krishna only. Lord Shiva, who is the Vaishnava, topmost Vaishnava, is meditating on Krishna through all these beautiful descriptions. If we see Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 15th chapter, where Lord Brahma glorifies Lord's abode. There he tells about how the similar verse is mentioned over there also. 3rd canto, 15th chapter and 43rd verse. Yeah. Tasyaravinda nayana padaravinda kinjal kamisra tulasi makaranda vayu antargata swavivarena chakarate sam sankho sabham akarajusham apichitta tanma. When the breeze carrying the aroma of tulsi leaves from the toes of the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead entered the nostrils of those sages, they experienced a change both in body and in mind, even though they were attached to the impersonal Brahman understanding. It is the same word, Kinjalka Mr. Tulasi. Here it is Pankaja Kinjalka. It's the same Sanskrit words are given over here. So we see why it is been described by whether Lord Shiva or other great acharyas describing Lord's beauty in their prayers. We see even our great acharyas like Narottam Das Thakur and other acharyas were singing the beautiful songs describing Lord's beauty. Why it is so? It is because by Lord's beauty, He attracts everybody. And when one gets attracted, it is easy for him to remember the Lord's form. If somebody in mundane world, if you see if somebody is just like an ordinary dress, wearing and here, walking here and there, even if you meet him, you don't recollect how he looks. Or how, maybe you will remember his name or some, not so very frequently. But if somebody is well dressed and well spoken and smile unto you, it's easy to recollect, right? In general, at least in the very same day, you'll remember few times. Oh, he smiled on me. He was very handsome, like that. So Supreme Lord, out of His causeless mercy, actually, all this Kirita, Kundala, Hara, Nupura, Balaya, these are not so much important thing for him to become beautiful. Srimad Bhagavatam, third canto, when Uddhava Vidura was talking together, there is a wonderful verse in that. It's saying that Bhushana Bhushanangam. It is not that Krishna is not beautiful and his jewelries or his abhushanas make him beautiful. No, it is the other way around. Krishna is supremely beautiful, and the ornaments whatever he was wearing, they become beautiful because they were accepted by Krishna. That's why the word came Bhushana Bhushanangam. So Krishna, out of His causeless mercy, appears in so beautiful form that somehow or other the conditioned soul get little attraction towards me. That's it. Ho gaya malamal. That is why Krishna comes in various wonderful forms and various beautiful ornaments he wears and various beautiful Baijanti Mala and Pita Bastra. So many wonderful things. And he is also not alone. He is always with his devotees. So that, somebody is alone may not be so attractive. But if there are a group of people around him, you will think, who is he? That is what Krishna, not only he relishes association of his devotees, but also his whole mercy, he's coming behind the appearance of Krishna in this material world for his devotees. One of the main reason is that his devotees will anyway be wonderfully happy by seeing him. But even those who are not his devotees, they may become devotee just by seeing him. We see on the Rasatra day, on Janmashtami day, how many thousands of people come and how they become so happy to glorify the Lord's beautiful form. I was there in Rasatra at Pandal. This time the Pandal was at Jal Vihar. I was there and one devotee came and I asked him, how was the Ratha going on, how it looks over there? Because I was over here since long time, I didn't go over there. And he was saying, like when the Ratha starts climbing over the, tank bond flyover, tank bond route. And exactly at that time, sunset was happening. And Jagannath was full majesty and beautiful kirtan was going on. And there are devotees ecstatically dancing. It was so magnanimous. This time it was such a wonderful Rasatra. It is. And one devotee just shared with me like this with me. And similarly on Janmashtami day, when the Supreme Lord, Radha Madan Mohan, dressed in so very beautiful, mesmerizing way, devotees thinking that I can stay here for some time because of lack of space, we asked them, can you please move? Supreme Lord dressed himself so that people in general get attracted towards him. And that is his name, Akarsayati iti Krishna. He attracts Krishna, everybody, through various different ways. And one of the ways is his Rupa. And apart from that, we see in Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 28th chapter, where Kapila Deva was speaking to Devahuti, Mother Devahuti. He was describing the devotion instructions of Kapila Deva regarding on devotion service. If we see from 22nd verse, there he describes how a devotee or a yogi should meditate. And what will happen by that? It is said that The blessed Lord Shiva becomes all the more blessed by bearing on his head the holy waters of the river Ganges, which has its source in the water that washed the Lord's lotus feet. The Lord's feet act like thunderbolt, hurled to shatter the mountain of sin stored in the mind of the meditating devotee. One should therefore meditate on the lotus feet of Lord for a long time. This verse tells that the Supreme Lord, Kapildev himself is saying that the Shiva or the Shiva, the literal meaning is auspicious. The Shiva, the blessed Lord, become more blessed when he bears the river Ganges, which is none other than Lord Charanamrita, Vishnupadi. And a devotee should always remember and meditate on the Lord's lotus feet. Why? Because Srila Prabhupada gives a very wonderful purport over here also. Another significant point of this verse is that the mind of the conditioned soul, on account of its association with metal energy from time immemorial, contains heaps of dirt in the form of desires to lord it over metal nature. This dirt is like a mountain, but a mountain can be shattered when hit by thunderbolt. Meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord act like a thunderbolt on the mountain of dirt in the mind of the yogi or devotee. And Lord's lotus feet, in this series of verse, what Kapildev is telling, he describes very vividly the Lord's feet, the sole of the feet is been marked with various auspicious symbols. One of them is thunderbolt. And by seeing that symbol, by meditating on the symbol, one's sins which accumulated from the lifetimes will be settled immediately, just like a mountain has been settled by the thunderbolt. And that is one of the reasons one should remember and think and pray and meditate on the beautiful form of the Lord. And we can go to next one of the verse in the same chapter. It is 32nd verse. I'll not read the Sanskrit sloka, but I'll read the translation. A yogi should similarly meditating on the most benevolent smile of Lord Sri Hari, a smile which all those who bow down to him dries away the ocean of tears caused by the intense grief. The yogi should always meditate on the Lord's arched eyebrows, which are manifested by his internal potency in the order to charm the sex god for the good of the sages. Srila Prabhupada writes the purport, wonderful purport, saying that the bereavement of material existence immediately subsides when one sees the charming smile of the Lord. Smita Hasya. Just see, the beautiful, wonderful verse of Srimad Bhagavatam gives us a lot of hope. Simply come to the courtyard of Radha Madan Mohan, behold the beautiful form of the Lord in the form of Radha Madan Mohan. He is ever smiling. And it is simple medicine to get away all the bereavement. And then Prabhupada writes further, the conditioned soul are shackled to the material existence because they are captivated by the charms of sense gratification. The sex god is also called Makaradhvaja, the charming brows of the Supreme Personality Godhead protect the sages and devotees from being charmed by material lust and sex attraction. So these are the wonderful verses we see from Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, many other cantos, many other places when described that why the Lord's Urupa Madhuri or the form has been glorified. What is the need of it? The need is that a conditioned soul is been having a lot of difficulties in this material world, and each of the difficulty can be simply sorted out by meditating on the beautiful form of the Lord. And then we see from teachings of Lord Chaitanya, one time I remember in 2007 or 8, those days, this was the only guest house we had. So one time just before Sunday feast, I happened to come to temple. And we used to have Bhakti Vriksha and other classes after Sunday feast. So went to, that was the dormitory where the boys were staying. So I just went into that and sitting on the bed. And suddenly I look into the book, Teachings of Lord Chaitanya. I just thought 5 minutes later, let me open the book. And coincidentally, I opened the book, the chapter where it is describing the beauty of the Lord, the beauty of Krishna. And the first few lines is talking specifically about the Lord Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan. First line, Krishna is known as Madan Mohana, who caused the pride of Madana, the Cupid. And then Prabhupada writes, just like Madana has his arrows, 5 arrows, Puspadhanu, similarly Krishna also has 5 arrows. Prabhupada writes very nicely. He says that 5 arrows of Krishna are like his form, his rupa, taste, through various ways when devotee comes to Krishna consciousness, he receives the taste, and smell, the Krishna's beautiful flower garlands, the smell, and also Krishna's touch. So like that, Srila Prabhupada describes, Krishna also has 5 arrows. Through these 5 arrows, he carves down the pride of anybody who has been captured by Cupid. And Srila Prabhupada then describes the beauty of Madana Mohana. He says that Madana Mohana form of Krishna wearing a pearl necklace in his neck, which like as white as a duck. And he is holding a peacock feather, in his head, and which resembles like rainbow. And his clothes, the beautiful yellow garment, like the lightning. And Krishna's beautiful form, the Shyama form, which that itself is a cloud. So Srila Prabhupada writes, in the rainy season, during cloudy day, it is very natural to see the rainbow. Sometimes the white ducks are flying even also a little bit in the sky. And it is very natural to see the lightning in the sky. So Krishna's form of Madana Mohana, which just like the rainy season of the rain cloud like Shyama Sundara. And then in the description of Chaitanya Charitamrita, we see when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu describing to Sanatana Goswami, topical Sanatana Sikhya, there he first speaks about who the living entity is, who the Supreme Lord is, and what is the what is the relation between the Supreme Lord and the conditioned soul, and what are the Lord's energies, how they act, Lord's supremacy. And then while describing Lord's supremacy, Lord Chaitanya come to this verse, as we discussed, 3rd canto, 15th chapter, when Lord Brahma glorifies the form of the Lord, where 4 Kumaras were entering into the Vaikuntha planet. And when he speaks about this verse, Kinjal Kamishra Tulasim, he became very ecstatic, and he started describing the beautiful form of Krishna. He immediately started reciting from the verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, 9th canto. Just at the end of 9th canto, Sukadeva Goswami was trying to give a brief description of Krishna to Parikshit Maharaj. Yasyana makara kundala charu karna bhrajat kapola subhagam sabila sahasyam nityachavam natrupara drisivhi pibantoyo naryo narasya mudita kupita nimesha. Is describing Yashyanana Makara Kundala Charu Karna. The other day I was while worshipping the Supreme Lord Madan Mohan in our temple, we were discussing our Sri Gaura Prabhu. He was telling that Brajat Kapola, Lord's forehead should be very beautifully visible. It's not that with turban we should cover most of the forehead. It should be very beautifully decorated. And the forehead should be very widely visible. Brajat Kapola. And Yashyanana Makara Kundala. Some of you must have been seen, we have got a shark-shaped earring for our Madan Mohan. Few days back, Madan Mohan wear that. It's not very visible. It's not very big, but it is quite big from other jewelries. So, by reciting this verse, Lord Chaitanya becomes ecstatic to describe about Krishna's beauty. And then he says that, my dear Sanatana, Krishna, among with all his pastimes, the Supreme Personality Godhead, among with all his pastimes, he personally comes when Krishna, that is the topmost pastime. You know why? He quotes, Chaitanya Kabira Goswami says that, Krishna Rajata Kalila, Sarvatama Nara Lila, Naravapu Tahara Swarupa, Gopavesha Venukara, Navakishara Natavara, Nara Lila Hai Anurupa. Among all the Lilas of Krishna, Sarvottama, the topmost Lila, is Natavara Lila, the dancing form of Krishna. Tahara Natavara Swarupa, he is Natavara Swarupa of Krishna. And what is that? Gopavesha, he is like cowherd boy. And Venukara, he is holding a flute. Navakishara Natavara, he is like a fresh youth, in his fresh youth. And Narallar Haya Anurupa, it is resembling the activity of a human being. Why he comes in that form? Actually, that is his own form, Swarupa. But another thing is, Krishna comes in his own form so that for all time to come, all the human being, they can relate Krishna's activity and see the Krishna's activity by seeing the superhuman activities of Krishna. Even in Satyavata Muni writes in Damodarashtakam that Iti drukshva lila vir ananda kunde shobak Iti drukshva lila vir ananda kunde. This lila of Krishna is like, by beholding this lila, by hearing this lila, one will drown into the ocean of, a pool of bliss, Ananda Kunda. And then, next line says that, Krishna is coming to give a advertisement. This is just advertisement. You see this advertisement, if you like that, then come to sing the original thing in Golok Vrindavan. Prepare for yourself. That's how Krishna attracts through his beautiful form. And then, we see that, through all these various wonderful scriptures, Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and Charitamrita, and all the Acharya's prayers, we see that the Rupa Varnana of Krishna has been described. But we also hear from Lord Srila Prabhupada says that one should meditate or contemplate on the various aspects of the Supreme Lord, like Nama, Rupa, Guna, Lila. And we read from Nectar of Instruction the wonderful, most important verse, which is called Upadesha Saram, the 8th verse. It is mentioned that Tannama Rupa Charitadi Sukirtanano Smritya Kramen Rasana Manasi Nijajya Tishtan Braje Tadanuragi Jananugami Kalam Naidam Akilam Iti Upadesha Saram. Iti Upadesha Saram. This is the essence of all the instruction. What to do? Tan Nama, his holy name. Rupa, his beautiful form. Tan Nama, Rupa Charita, his pastimes. All these things one should remember. How frequently? Continuously. Kalam Nayedam Akhilam Iti Podesha Saram. One should not waste even a moment, but think all these things. How to do? Rupa Goswami is very practical. He says that Smritya Kramena Rasana Manasi Nijajyo. Start with your tongue first. Chant the holy name first. And then mind. Then you can, if you don't hear, if you don't chant, then what you can think in your mind? If you can't see, then what you can think in your mind? You must chant, hear, and remember. That's why Tan Nama Rupa Charita. That's the sequence. So we'll conclude here. Now it's time up. This specific topic of Rudra Gita has significance for everybody. For people in general, those who have no understanding of God, those who have no understanding of Krishna and his beautiful form, they simply come to temple, see the beautiful form of Krishna, and they'll be attracted towards it. Just 2 days before, His Grace Vedanta Prabhu was giving class on this topic. And it was very nicely Prabhuji explained. The people, those who have no concept of God, the simple people, they could come and taste the prasadam offered to given over here, and inevitably repeat the holy name being chanted over here by the hundreds and tens and hundreds of people over here. Especially if you see during Rajbhogarti, many boys, many people come over here when our Vishwakit Prabhu sings very, very melodious kirtan. Everybody inevitably, irresistibly chant the holy name. So when they taste the Mahaprasadam, when they chant the holy name, and at the same time they behold the beautiful form of Radha Madan Mohan, they will be attracted at their level. That's for people in general. For sadhakas like you and me, I mean many of you are wonderful Vaishnavas, but people like me, those who are sadhakas, for them, this verse gives a meaning. Tannam Rupa Charita Sukirtananu. When you see the beautiful form of the Lord, when you chant the holy name of the Lord, it will, by the mercy of the Lord, we will be definitely getting help to cleanse the heaps of sins whatever collected in our previous lives through the thunderbolt of his lotus feet symbol, and also by his carved eyebrow will be cleansed from the contamination of being agitated and affected by the Cupid, and will be, if at all, by the mercy of the Lord and Vaishnavas, who have been attracted towards the beauty of the Lord, will somehow or other remember the Lord's beautiful form. And that's a wonderful thing for all of us. And in this way, this verse of 8th verse of Nectar of Instruction, which is essence of all instruction, meaningful for all sadhakas for all time to come. And there are devotees, the wonderful, elevated, advanced Vaishnavas, maybe like our Anandmaya Prabhu and all, and the pure devotees, they'll simply like release the beautiful form of the Lord. For them, the sadhana it's not sadhana, it's like a swataha, it automatically comes. For a grown-up man or grown-up boy, is it required for his father to come and ask him that, oh, you wake up, go and wash your face? It's not required, it automatically comes. So they are like the grown-up sons of Supreme Personality Godhead. There's swataha devotion, automatically. Not only that, they feel very happy and fresh and releasing by seeing Krishna's beauty. As Lord Shiva is ecstatic by singing this. And after this, later on we'll be witnessing, after hearing this Rudra Gita and the Prachetas, when they'll chant this Rudra Gita for a good time in the water, and the Supreme Personality Godhead comes and gives them darshan, and they were ecstatic and they offer the prayers. They immediately offer the prayers. First the Lord comes and he says that I'm happy by seeing all of you united, and they want to offer the prayer. And the first line of the prayer, they say that Namo Namah Klesha Vinashanaya Nirupita Udara Guna Bhayaya Mano Bacho Vega Purojavaya Sarvakhya Marge Ragatatmane Namaha. Namo Namah Klesha Vinashanaya. My dear Lord, you are the person who destroy all the klesha. And we see also relevant in the Nectar of Devotion, the first chapter, Rupa Goswami says that 6 symptoms of devotion service. First one is klesha agni. Because people in this world are on klesha. They want to do something for themselves first, before thinking anything else further. And we see that the first, the prayers offered by us like that. So Lord Shiva is being ecstatic by describing the Rupa, or praying while remembering the beautiful form of the Lord. In this way, this verse is meaningful for everybody for that matter. Whether one is a pure devotee or poor devotee or no devotee, it is for everybody, it is meaningful. Hare Krishna. Thank you all very much. Throughout this discussion, if I spoke something inappropriately, please correct me. All of you has the right to correct me. If you have any comments or correction, please. Ananda Prabhu, if there is anything you would like to correct or comment.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much for your lecture. Could you comment on the instruction given by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur to some of his disciples? He said to one disciple that don't try to see Krishna, but try to be seen by Krishna.
Thank you very much for bringing this point. I thought to say something on this, I forgot. So, as Srila Bhaktivinoda Saraswati Thakur has told us, and Srila Prabhupada is so happy to relay to all of us, we know that this 8th verse is related to that. The topmost service one can offer to Krishna is by chanting his holy name. And this 8th verse of Nectar of Instructions says that start chanting the holy name. And then Srila Prabhupada says sometimes, when you sincerely chant the holy name, all these things will reveal to you automatically. You don't have to specifically do anything for that. The Rupa, Guna, Lila, they'll reveal to you automatically. So, yes, Srila Bhaktivinoda Saraswati Thakur told us that let us, according to his instruction, let us all serve Krishna. And we don't know how to serve Krishna, but you can serve Krishna's devotees and serve Krishna under the guidance of the bona fide spiritual master, especially by chanting the holy name of the Lord. Then Krishna will be pleased. And Krishna, Bhaktivinoda Saraswati Thakur says that Krishna would like to see you. And that's the great. Instead of we try to see Krishna, Krishna will be seeing us. That's nothing like that. I remember one of the quote, His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, he says that topmost service one can render to Krishna by chanting his holy name. So by chanting the holy name of Krishna, we will render service to Krishna. Apart from that, there will be physical services during our festivals and during our normal days. Every devotee has their own services. And in our temple congregation, we see that every single devotee, at least once in a month, should render some physical service. Not only this, anyway I am chanting holy name, I am doing some service. That's not enough. We should render service. And Srila Prabhupada writes repeatedly in Bhagavatam, Chadiya Vaishnava Seva Nistara Paichakeva. And unless we serve the Vaishnavas, serve Krishna, there is no question of deliverance. So there are certain things I thought to share, Prabhu. Thank you. Any other corrections, comments? Yes, Prabhu. From Mike.
Thank you very much for wonderfully explaining that how Krishna is so attractive. Prabhuji, can you please elaborate that in sadhaka state, what are the factors because of which the conditioned soul feels more attracted to the material sense objects than the form of Krishna?
The second part, could you repeat once again?
Yeah.
What are
in sadhaka state, what are the factors because of which one, though practicing devotional life, still his attraction for material sense objects remains? So what we should take caution of so that we can protect ourselves and develop attraction for Lord?
I know that you know best answer for it, but as a matter of purification, I'll try to say something on this. Specifically, as we discussed today, when it has been described on the page of Bhagavatam, when a devotee meditates on the mercy of Krishna, on the lotus symbols of Krishna's lotus feet, his sins gets eradicated and his attachment towards the sense objects and material sense gratification gets the more one meditating, the more one be meditating Krishna's beautiful form in through service, the more one be purified in that. And as part of the question, as part of the answer, I can say that the most important thing in this world, which allure the people in general, as Srila Prabhupada many times says that money, name, fame and women. These are the four things which becomes a stumbling block for a sadhaka to progress in better way. So for all these things, in this verse we say that regarding women, regarding the sins and all things described, and regarding money, when one practices Krishna consciousness seriously and sincerely, the pages of Bhagavatam describes, one will become satisfied with whatever little one receives. One will practice the principle of Atyahara, Prajalpanyamagraha, the principle one will practice, so one will be gradually purified. Srila Prabhupada mentioned in Nectar of Instruction the verses of second and third verse and fourth verse, how these verses are applicable for people in general, for the practicing sadhakas, and especially fourth verse, the six loving exchanges, how it applicable for the people in general, for practicing devotees, and even for the live members, how these six loving exchanges are happening. And also Srila Prabhupada mentioned the second and third verse, where the do's and don'ts are mentioned. There Srila Prabhupada says that just by sincerely coming to Krishna consciousness, one gets away of all anarthas, which are unwanted things, are being hunted by people in general. So in simple way, the more one have faith in chanting the holy name, the more one comes in sangha of devotees discussing together, hearing more, giving more stress on hearing about the purification process, and especially chanting the holy name with faith will help one to get out of all these obstacles. The other day we were discussing, it is Rajesh Sambhur was telling, the determination comes by sincerely and seriously attempting to chant the holy name. So many of our sadhakas, it's not that they don't know. They know certain things, but they know the process of devotional service, they know the importance of devotional service, but still they have been inevitably sometimes been attracted. So that, and they wanted to be determined. They don't want to be undetermined. But that could be possibly handled by putting sincere effort to chant the holy name of the Lord. And another occasion we were discussing, he says that when one sincerely puts effort to chant the holy name, and in general the mind goes here and there, the inattention affects, and because he's sincere, he's trying to hear, and he found that he is not able to make it, so he feels very humble, and he comes to the Lord and offers prayers. My dear Lord, on my own I'm incapable, please be merciful on me. And he shares with devotees and requests devotees to pray for him. When the devotees prays to Krishna, and by seeing one's sincerity, by seeing the devotee's prayer for him, Krishna eventually empower him and enthuse him and nourish him with spiritual emancipation. By his, he will counteract all these things. It's a simple thing, Prabhu. You know better than me, but I just thought to share. Hare Krishna. So we'll end over here. ग्रंथराशन भागवतम की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, गौर ब्रह्मानंदे हरि हरि बोल.